that game from hitting field goals. It's a tough one to swallow. No choice but to do it. I should have been better today, and we lost because of it.
What would you say it was? Putting win?
I just missed.
Kind of same.
I'm not interested in making an excuse. I missed my field goals.
Welcome to Steeler Nation Live. Big Tiz.
And I'm Big O.
The Steelers played a game against the Oakland Raiders Sunday, and it was horrific. So to be fitting, this is a Halloween edition for Steeler Nation Live.
Very, very scary. You can't take all the Friday 13th, the Halloweens, the Freddies, the Krugers, and whatnot. All that combined cannot total the scariness that happened on Sunday out there in Oakland, California.
The Steelers lost that one 21-18. You know, they fought back later in the game. We're going to really get deep into it later in the show. But, you know, it made for somewhat of an entertaining game if you were not a Steeler fan. But, hey, you know what? The Steelers went out, they played, and I'm a black and gold fan forever. So I watched it, and it was horrific to watch. So, like I said at the beginning, Halloween is here, and maybe that's what this game was.
I'm scared. I'm very scared. And getting back to the seriousness of this, you have to play 60 minutes. 30 minutes, as you see this past Sunday, doesn't cut it because they only played 30 minutes. And when push comes to shove and when it really counted, we ran out of time.
Exactly. And, you know, that's been going on a lot with the Steelers this year, running out of time and falling behind, trying to fight from big leads. So that's a lot of things that we have to work on this year. So
usually our history was that we'd have the lead and we'd have to fight to keep the lead.
Right.
I like that better than coming back and having to fight your way out of stuff to get in there because we would find ways to lose games. We couldn't close the deal. And now it's reverse. Last year was we couldn't play 60 minutes to close the deal. Now we can't play 60 minutes to start the deal.
Exactly. It takes 60 minutes to win a game, and the Steelers have to realize that. And if they can't, there's going to be a long, long season, as you can see what it is right now. But getting back into the seriousness of things that's going on in the NFL and nationwide with the breast cancer is a big thing for the NFL this year, doing it all month long here.
That's right. And folks, once again, if you watched last week's show, you will know what you can do, the options you have. You go to cancer.org. You can text NFL Pink to 41518. That's NFL Pink to 41518 and donate $10 to the American Cancer Society. Or you can go to NFLshop.com and get your official NFL Pink gear. Or you can do anything. You can send in donations. You can go in your local community. You can find out what you can do for local cancer victims. Or we also know that everyone has a friend, a coworker, somebody that you know is going through or has gone through this horrible disease. So what we're asking here at Steeler Nation Live is to go out to your community, see what you can do to help out. Not just this month. This month is to bring awareness because we all know it's out there.
Right.
But this is like an extra awareness, a little push to get you out there. You can do this 12 months a year, 365 days a year, 24/7. Contact someone in your local community, see what you can do to help this breast cancer awareness campaign.
And we appreciate it a lot, guys, especially from Big Tiz and Big O here on Steeler Nation Live. You know, but getting back to the game Sunday against the Oakland Raiders, I'm just going to touch base on it real quickly. I do think the Steelers, they had their chances to win the game, and as a lot of you seen who watched the game, and they came up short and by the 2 missed field goals by Suisham, which kind of really doomed them, actually.
Absolutely. You know? It seemed as though the past 2 games, our offense was on track. And I just don't understand, did Haley lose the playbook? Now, we all know, common sense is you don't run the same offense every game because that way other teams could catch on. But something similar to what we were doing last week and the week before that was working. And it just, I don't understand what the problem was yesterday.
Well, excuse me, from what I've seen a little bit of, that was, I'm not going to totally put it on Haley because, like I said, we still have a lot of issues. We even had some offensive linemen that went down yesterday.
3.
So, I mean, there was a lot of things that played into it. And I can still see we're still do have some positives where they're moving along. You know, we'll get into that later in the show, but I still fault Ben a lot of it as well because, like I said, sometimes he holds onto that ball too long. I mean, you can't do that in this type of league, especially with the speed out there on defenses, especially when you have offensive linemen that have problems.
Right, and you could take what happened this past Sunday and last week and compare the two. How Ben got the ball out quickly, hit the receivers to a wide variety of receivers. Heath Miller was barely used last week, and he was barely used this past Sunday. So we need to get him more involved. And when we do, our first win where he was very involved, you have a W, you have a win.
Exactly.
So we need to get back on track and we need to look at game film, see what we did wrong yesterday, compare it to what we did right, and come out with that same kind of offense. And if they pick up on it, how bad can that be? Can't be any worse than what we're doing now.
Exactly. And you're exactly right. So I think a lot of the playbook Haley has to look at, it has to be shortened, and only because of the fact of the line play. I mean, right now, it's going to take a while to get that run game to where we want it to. So actually right now, I think Haley has to look deep into the playbook and try to see if he can get some more quicker formations just to get the ball out of his hand. And I'm thinking back when Minnesota played Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh when Brett Favre was the quarterback. Brett Favre even said in an interview, he said a lot of their game plan was to do quick tosses to get the ball out of his hand because Pittsburgh's defensive pressure at that time was so heavy.
Absolutely.
And with us having line issues, I don't understand why we're not doing that, because they almost won that game by just doing that.
Right. I think what's happening is we get back to what I described as ALE earlier, accountability, leadership, and execution. I think we still don't have that leader on defense. I think everybody's looking at somebody else to cover the slack. So we need somebody to step up. It can't be just because Troy Polamalu is all over the field. We can't expect him to take that role and lead. Everybody on that team, defense or offense, they have to be a leader in their own way. So not a follower, a leader.
Right.
So that way you can pick up your partner, you can pick up your buddy, your fellow player. It just doesn't. If everybody's looking for that one person, you're going to be lost. Because he might not be on the field. He might be hurt. He might not be doing his job.
Exactly.
So you can't rely just because you wear a C on your uniform. It's not going to get you any wins.
Exactly. And you're right. You hit the nail right on the head. The guys, they have to play as a cohesive unit. They have to have somebody that's willing to step up and take charge on defense. Polamalu's an older player. We always can't rely on Polamalu. Ryan Clark, I don't know what's really going on with his era. I mean, sometimes it seems like to me at certain times he's getting kind of slow on the cover. So, but like I said, he's still a steady player. So, like, somebody has to step up on their front line on defense as well. I mean, they did get pressure Sunday, but the fact is there were a lot of times where the quarterback would, just wiggle his way right out of it with no other pressure after that. And, hence the 93-yard touchdown run by Terrell Pryor.
Yeah, we'll discuss that later. But it seems right now that the Steelers the players, they have everything. They have the right thing to say at this point in juncture. It's great that you realize after the fact. But what's going on is after they realize what's going on, they're not fixing the problem. We could sit here and say, you know what, Ryan Clark is great for this. Nothing against what he says because, the maturity level in his is extreme. And he'll come out and he'll tell you, this is what went wrong. This is why we do it. We need to do this. I need to do this. But that's great. Accountability. They're starting to take, ALE, the accountability. They're starting to do that. But you know what? Once you realize that you have a problem, you have to try and fix that problem. Not just keep on saying, you know what? I know this is what. I was out of position. I should have been in this position. We overdid this. We overdid that. You need to take that and, focus on the next game and trying to do that again. That's awesome that you realize your mistakes because that's the first key to recovery. That's the first key to making things right. When you realize you have a mistake, what they are, now you have to fix them.
Exactly, and I agree with you totally. Hey guys, we're going to get ready to go to commercial break, but during this commercial break, you're going to hear from our West Coast guy, Rudy Rude Dog Reyes, giving his thoughts out there. Rudy was still out there on location during the game, so Rudy's going to give you a lot of feedback on that. So you'll get, after that, we'll talk a little bit about some things that went right, some things that went wrong, and also give you some stats on the game. Next up on Steeler Nation Live.
From our studios out in Rochester, New York, we head out west to Southern California where the palm trees are swaying as we check out Rudy Rude Dog Reyes as he does his thing out there for Steeler Nation Live. Rudy, what's going on out there in the West Coast for Steeler Nation Live?
Good afternoon, Big Tiz, Big O, Rudy Rude Dog Reyes reporting live from Southern California in the wonderful city of Fullerton. Steeler Nation, I am highly disappointed. Currently this year, we are in dead last in our division, tied with the Browns of all teams. We currently do not look good on both sides of the ball. Offensively, we're very stalemate-ish, losing some other key players. Guy Wimper went down, and right now we can't win to really save our lives in the division right now. I do hope for 11-5 finish, however. I had some great highlights on the ball in the defensive scheme of things when you have Troy Polamalu intercepting it, forcing turnovers. Defense is doing what they can do to give the offensive line back the ball. However, if we're not able to capitalize on those turnovers, you can blame more than just Sean Suisham for the 2 missed field goals that were done back-to-back. You can also bypass Zesko's punt that was blocked that came back to haunt us as a touchdown. You can put Brett Kiesel's blaming himself aside for all of that. Emmanuel Sanders' lack of effort, Antonio Brown's less than stellar performance, and you can put all that aside. Let's be realistic here. The realistic aspects is this. We need to ensure that next season we beef up the offensive line. Get some safeties. I'm sorry, Ike. I love you, man, but you got to go. It's just not been a good season. Steeler Nation is crying wolf right now for obvious reasons, being 2-5 in the AFC. And currently, we got to get this rolling, Big Tiz, Big O. This cannot be a case of coming in New England versus the Patriots. So with that being said, back to you guys, and I got one word. You guys know what that is. That's Pittsburgh.
Uniform Express, located on 1408 Buffalo Road, Rochester, New York, for your police, fire, or EMS supplies. One of Rochester's top and finest suppliers of shirts, pants, shoes, boots, and accessories for your professional uniform needs. Uniform Express also does embroidery and screen print for team uniforms, jerseys, and corporations. Hours are Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. You can also go to their website at www.uniformexpress.com or call Brian at 585-529-4245. That's 585-529-4245. And let Brian know you heard his ad on our show, Steeler Nation Live.
It's Spaghetti Sports Pub, located at 2246 East River Road. A perfect blend of Irish charm and Italian cuisine. From Calabria favorites like calamari to chicken French to the new signature dish like the Steel City Deli.
The Rothless Burger.
Everything is delicious and prepared fresh for you. They offer a full lineup of your favorite beverages with drink specials daily, and don't forget their $5 Monster Bomb.
Ice cold beer.
All day, every day. With 2 floors of seating and 20 high-def televisions, there's not a bad seat in the house to catch every minute of the NFL action.
Watch what you want.
McGinty's is the official home of the Rochester Steelers fan club.
Steelers!
So come on down to McGinty's Sports Pub, 2246 East River Road in Henrietta.
Welcome back, sports fan and Steeler Nation. I'm Big O.
I'm Big Tiz.
With Steeler Nation Live. And come back, we want to thank Rude Dog Reyes for that report from California, the home of the Oakland Raiders.
Yeah, it is. Rudy, go out there, do some damage, buddy, because y'all did it to us.
That's right. We don't incite rioting and flipping cars and setting them on fire. But Rudy, you got to do what you got to do out there, big guy. So this is the part of the segment where we have what went right. This is what we feel. What went right, what went wrong. And we always start off, we want to get the negatives out of there and so we can build and focus on the positives, Big Tiz. What did you see when you had your eyes uncovered, some of the game, but when you had your eyes uncovered, what did you see, some of the things that you felt went wrong?
Well, number one that everybody knows is the special teams. And the special teams killed us in this game. And I'm not alluding to the fact of the special team coverage, but it's the fact of the special teams in the way of the kicking game with Suisham missing 2 pivotal field goals. And
I got to stop you there, Big Tiz. And right now, I'm coming clean. I want to apologize to the Pittsburgh organization, the Steelers, the Steeler fans, Steeler Nation. It's my fault. I'm taking full responsibility for this, and I'll tell you why. Sean Suisham, 100%. 100% all year. We all know it. Hasn't missed a field goal. Beat the Ravens. 48-yard field goal. Rain, sleet, snow, wind. Wins the game. Sunny California. A couple clouds in the sky. No wind, pretty much. And he misses it. And the reason was I picked him up on my fantasy team.
I told him, folks, you heard it right here. He picked him up and put him on his fantasy. Horrific.
And as soon as midnight rolls around, I'm kicking him off my team. He is no longer a part of my fantasy football team. So, folks, you can expect a stellar performance by Sean Suisham next week.
Yes.
Continue. Carry on.
Well, and going off what Big O said, you also have to factor in of the special teams was the fact of the punting side of it. Mesco, Big O, another guy Big O endorses highly. Loves him to death. Horrific game. I mean, he had some punts that didn't go far at all. Punts nearly blocked. This was a bad game for him. And maybe sometimes you need to have a bad game to get better, but this was a bad game and it was happening at bad times.
I'm just going to go run and hide right now. I still haven't got my Mesco jersey yet, so there still is time for me to get my new Steeler player. But you know what? I'm just like I don't give up on a team. I'm not giving up on him. I'm not giving up on Suisham. We all have bad days. Just like when Suisham interviewed in the locker. I got to tell you, the maturity level of this young man, no blame, no excuses, like he said in the audio portion of it. It just, and you could tell by his sincerity in his voice. It wasn't the Super Bowl. It wasn't a playoff loss. Granted, we need every win, but I honestly felt bad for him. He knows that it fell on his shoulders because we lost by 3 points. Do the math, folks. 2 field goals, 6 points, and we win by 3. Yeah. But you know what? The sincerity in his voice, and it just, you don't miss field goals.
But that happens. That happens to the best of kickers out there. Guys who have long storied careers have had bad games kicking, and with him being a Steeler, this was actually, to me, the worst game I've seen him play.
Yeah, and it was a complete package, though, with special teams. It wasn't just because he missed the field goals. Like you mentioned about Mesco, had a punt partially blocked.
Right.
It's just a package deal, and it's just if the offense play, we can be here all day, folks, with ifs. And you know what I say about if. And we won't get into it because it's a family show. But anyways, that just like we talk about, you can't let the referees dictate the game. They don't win or lose the game for you. Right. You have all the opportunities in the world to win or lose a game. Granted, it would have helped if you would have made those 2 field goals, but we don't know the situation had he made those. You don't play the same game when you got the lead. You have to switch up your game plan to keep the momentum going in your way. So we don't know what would have happened had he made those field goals. Would have Oakland come out with a different offense and try and score touchdowns? We don't know. But it just didn't happen that way.
Correct. I mean, that just wasn't the fastest of the game on that part. But the defense didn't play stellar the early part of the game. The rest of the game, the defense were lights out, shut down. But the early part of the game, it was horrific to watch.
Right. It was like we talked earlier, 60 minutes is 60 minutes. Unless the first 30 minutes you come out there and you're destroying the other team, then you have that opportunity to slack off a little bit and, maybe let them get back into the game, not play 100% for the other 30 minutes.
Right.
But when you're down 21-3 at halftime, it's time to step it up. Also, when you're away and you win the toss, I don't understand why we deferred the kickoff, because you don't want to give the home team momentum, which we did, and I think that was one of the main reasons that gave them the momentum. Plus, Garrett, not to take nothing away from Pryor, with the 93-yard touchdown run by a quarterback, the longest run by a quarterback in NFL history. We don't like being on that other side of the history books, but it happened. You can't take nothing away from him. However, if the defense played, they weren't asleep at the first play, this would have been a different story. But you can't change history.
Right.
You have to focus on the future.
Well, there also was some other things that were wrong that played into that. We had 2 costly turnovers. A lot of Ben threw a long pass on the right side down to Antonio Brown, which got picked off, and also another one across the middle of Antonio Brown, which kind of bounced off his chest, which he got hit the same time as well with a wrap. Right. And the guy picked it off the ground. Beautiful interception. I seen it. I couldn't believe it. And they replayed it, and he made the pick. It was inches off the ground. He did a Palomalo, and it was extraordinary. I got to give it to him. So they did what they had to do to win the game. Granted, they tried to give the game to us, but we just didn't want it, I guess.
Not at least in the first 30 minutes we did. Other things went over. I mean, the injury bug is back again. Now, when you only suit up 8 offensive linemen,
right,
and 3 go down, it's hard. It's really hard not to make excuses, because we're all professionals. Just like Mike Tomlin says, it doesn't matter who is out there playing. We're all professionals, no matter if you're a starter or bench player. When you get in there, you're a professional, and you play that position, and you play it well, or else you won't be in the team.
Exactly.
So, but we're relying too heavy on people to come in cold, and it doesn't help an already lackluster running game. And thank God to Le'Veon Bell, who can adjust and make up yards after the first and second and third hit. With the 93-yard the other game, 93-yard performance. It's stuff like that. But when you have injuries, that deflates an already deflated sail. And it just, not to make excuses, because it sounds like we're making excuses, but we're just making a statement.
Exactly.
Fact.
And a lot of it is fact. And the other thing was that, the Steelers, they're, 35 yards running the ball is not effective. And you just talked about that a little bit, and all the issues they have. 35 yards is not going to get it done anywhere. So basically, the Raiders did to us what we wanted, our defense to do to them. I mean, which we did later in the game, but they kind of played that way towards us all the game, and the Steelers are always playing this deadly catch-up game where they're always trying to catch up from behind. Right. And no pun with Heinz Field, the ketchup bottles, but that's what we're always doing. We're trying to catch up.
Right. And it's almost like the story of the tortoise and the hare. We got to come out of the gate fast, strong, and hard. We have to do something to get the other team on their heels. We have the players to do this. We can play great football.
Right.
Even catch up football.
Right.
And we've proved it in our 2 victories. I mean, I can't remember the last time we had a lead this year and held on to it. Obviously, with a 2-5 record, there's not many leads out there.
You know what? That's a good one. I think the last lead we had was the 2-0 against Titans. I'm not positive.
I think you're right. That's the last. I believe you. I think you're right, Big Tiz. That opening kickoff, the fastest points I think in NFL history was that safety.
Maybe we had a lead somewhere else. I'm not just doing that top of my head, but I believe that was it.
That's not.
It's not good.
That's not good.
But you know what? And the other thing the Steelers had that went wrong was too many sacks.
5 times, I believe. Roethlisberger took one for the team. Not to mention how many times he was hit after throwing the ball, or hit after he was running the ball. So it just, we'll get to that later on in the show with the stats, their updated stats for that. But it's hard to win a game when your quarterback's on his back. That means he has the ball and you don't. And you're not going to score many points by having your quarterback sacked. So
Exactly. Well, you know what? We talked long and hard about things that went wrong. Let's get into some things that went right. You know, I don't know if it's going to be shorter or longer, but let's go into some things that went right.
the thing that went right, number one, they left the field, got on the plane, and get out of there. All right, next topic. No, I'm just kidding, folks. We actually did some things right, and Big Tiz is going to touch base on that right now.
Well, number one off the bat, the defense came out in the second half and said, you know what, let's put an end to this bleeding and shut it off. And it's exactly what they did. They put an end to it, shut the game down, cut off every avenue the Raiders had, and played a phenomenal second half of the game. I was very proud of that defensive unit, the way they came back and put a total lockdown on that Raiders offense.
Now, had they come out opening kickoff and done that, I think we're talking, happy talk, not this scary Halloween show.
Exactly, and that's what it was.
Yeah.
And in fact, the defense created 3 turnovers. Amazing. The defense, they were swarming around out there, and I seen the second half. I seen the energy, and they got 3 turnovers in the second half. So the Steelers turnovers are starting to come.
Here we
go. Like you said, Big O just said earlier about the injuries. Everything is starting to gel. It's taking its time, but it's coming.
That's right. And that's 5 turnovers in the past 2 games. We haven't had 5 turnovers in the first 5 games. So it's starting to come together, starting to gel. And so that's a positive. We need to build on these positives. Also, 3 penalties. Pittsburgh was only penalized 3. Now, when you go into Oakland and Raiders, they're I don't want to accuse of anybody being dirty, but they're very physical. Is that better?
I like that. That's a good way to say it.
Very physical team. And sometimes when you play somebody who's very physical, you want to get physical back.
Right.
And you do dumb things, you create stupid penalties. And fortunately for us, we only had 3.
Right.
3 penalties. I can't remember, it was for 3 for 30-something yards, but we'll get back with that in the stats later in the show. And like you alluded to the beginning, when you're down 21-3 away from home, it's pretty much lights out, because that says to you that, you know what, let's try and make it reasonable, let's try and make it respectful, let's just get in there, because it's very hard to come back when you're a visitor and you're losing by 18 points going in a half.
Yep, with a sellout crowd too. And the Steelers, they were trying, they were fighting. I got to give them credit on that. They were fighting to get back in this game. They were trying everything. Even after the miscues, they were still there fighting until the end of the game. I got to give it to them. And I was proud of it. The Steelers did a 2-point conversion and were successful. I couldn't believe it. When they started doing it, I was like, oh, well, I'll go to the bathroom, come back, and, it'd be a missed 2-point conversion anyway. But they made it.
They made it. That's very, very confident you have. Confident enough. But, you got to go when you got to go. That's your calls. You have to answer, right, folks?
Exactly.
And what a perfect opportunity then to miss the 2-point conversion. But, like Big Tiz says, the chances of that slim to none. You got to call like it is, folks. You got to be honest with yourself. And like I'm starting to come to my conclusion with this 12-4 season. Yeah, the medicine is now taking effect, and I'm starting to change my ways. I don't think we're going to be 12-4 this year. However,
good thought.
I know my math not so good, but I do see us finishing with a winning record, though. But after, you see the first half of the game on Sunday and then the second half, it's there.
Right.
It's there. They didn't decide to change the second half. They came out like gangbusters. They almost couldn't close the deal. When we came out in the second half, we tried to close the deal. But you're shoveling sand. When you dig yourself too deep,
right.
It's hard to come back, especially when you're having so much problems on offense, creating that running game. Because when there's no running game, you're forcing the Steelers to throw the ball, which you got double coverage, triple coverage. You're expecting them to throw.
Well, I will say this, and I'm gonna stand right here and take a stance and say it right now. If the Steelers can come out in a game, go down and drive on their first initial drive with the football, and they get a touchdown, they're going to win that game. They're going to win that game. Write it down. They're going to win that game. The reason I say that, because the Steelers, I don't know how many games has it been now that they said. They actually gave a number, maybe it was like 10 or 11 games so far that Steelers went without getting an opening drive touchdown.
Or even a rushing touchdown for that fact.
Right. So I've become so accustomed to seeing the Steelers get the ball 3 and out.
3 and out.
Automatically, I'm looking at 3 and out and kicking it back. So they have to make a statement. Go down. Even if you got to keep with that dink and dunk, go down, get a score. Put a statement at the beginning. Say, you know what? We're in your territory. We're here to play. Touchdown.
Touchdown. Absolutely.
So seeing that, let's get to some of these stats in that last game on this Halloween edition.
Oh, boy. And yes, welcome, folks. If you're just tuning in to us, this is the 2013 Halloween edition. Not because of the play is very scary. It's just that Halloween is tomorrow night. So we want a special message out to you. If you kids, are you watching this at home? Wear something warm. If you're in the East Coast, wear something warm, something bright. Bring out the flashlights. We want to see you get some candy. You know, if you're on the West Coast, Rudy, you get out there with your tank top and your Speedos, and you go up because you can. It's pretty warm out there. I'm just assuming. You get out there, your tank top and Speedos, and you go get trick or treat and you get your candy. That's awesome. Dress appropriately, dress according to the weather, and wear a costume that's safe. You know, it's just But I'm off. Where are we now? You know when I get on these tangents, but it's Halloween. Woo!
Yep. So be ready.
So,
well, the Steelers they played this Halloween game, lost in 21-18 with the Raiders coming out on top, and the Raiders had 279 yards of offense. A lot of that offensive yardage came in the first half of the game, especially with Pryor's 93-yard run. If you cut that out of the equation, I mean, they barely made it over 200 yards. So
right.
And the Raiders, they had six carries for 39 yards. No, I believe that was the running backs.
The penalties.
Oh, penalties.
Penalties. 6 penalties for 39 yards. Now, they had the same kind of rushing attack that we had, non-existent. So I think they ran a total of 88 yards for the whole game, which is not that good, but it's a lot better. It's 50 yards more than our 35 yards. And Pryor was held to, I think, 118 yards passing the whole game. So you look at those stats, folks, and you look at, they couldn't pass, they couldn't run, but why did we lose? That's things that we have to think about. They even turned the ball over 3 times. So you can't pass, you can't run, you're turning the ball over. What does that say, folks? That says a win for the other side. I'm just, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure this out. Not to mention, I think there was 2 seconds difference or 3 seconds difference from time of possession. Right there, folks, it tells you who had the ball, who was winning, what half. They won the first half, we won the second half. However, in the second half, that's when those 2 field goals were missed.
Right. The Steelers had 2 turnovers, and the Raiders had 3 turnovers. Like I said, our defense stepped it up, and they began to play. You know what? They put us in a lot of positions to try to win this game, and we couldn't do it. Roethlisberger, not a horrific game, but not a good game at all. 29-45, 275 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, though.
That's not good. If you have more interceptions than touchdown, that's not looking too good. Le'Veon Bell, another rushing touchdown. He only had 24 yards on 13 carries, which that's about, folks, if you got your calculators out there, that's about 1.7 yards per carry. Not too good. Our Sanders had 7 catches for 88 yards, also a TD, and Brown, 9 catches for 82 yards. Not bad. Getting back to the Raiders side of the ball, I misspoke when I said Pryor had 118 yards passing. He only had 88 yards passing, no TDs, and 2 interceptions. You look at these stats, it's just like lost, spells lost, all over the paper. And he had 9 carries for 106 yards. Let's see, 1 carries for 93 yards, do the math. We stopped him the second half. It was unbelievable. Night and day.
Yeah.
Night and day. And
McFadden had a decent game. I thought he did okay, and the majority of it was the first half anyway. But right. I believe he might have had about maybe 50 yards rushing in the first half alone. So he had 24 carries for 73 yards and 2 touchdowns, which one of the touchdowns came off the Wildcat, which, I thought we had it stopped again. We contained it, but then we let him scoot up through the middle for another touchdown. And the wide receiver stats for the Oakland Raiders was dismal anyway. Streeter was 4 catches for 45 yards, which is basically nothing. So the Steelers defense did what they had to do in the second half. I just wish some of it would have came out a little bit better in the first half of the game, but they came out after halftime, put the hammer down, and did what they had to do.
And I also liked late in the game, fourth quarter, when Roethlisberger threw that second interception, bounced off Brown. We're just outside the red zone, and it just, that right there will just kill any team. You're driving down, you need points, interception. Did the Steelers give up then either? No, they didn't. They came back the next drive, and they did score that touchdown. They got the 2-point conversion to bring us within 3. Tried the onside kick. Didn't happen.
No.
But you know what?
Well, to be honest, Suisham, not to beat you down, but that wasn't the best onside kick you did there. But you were having that kind of day anyway, so hey.
Right. I think these issues need to be addressed more in practice as far as how much practice can you get kicking field goal? You get a routine, that's fine. But these special plays, like the onside kick, I believe that they need to be practiced more.
I agree with you totally.
Practice more, because the only time when you need to do this is in a crucial part of the game when you're losing and you need to get the ball back. I don't understand why this is not a main play. Maybe it is. Maybe we're just that horrible with onside kicks. But you know what, folks? This year, 2 onside kicks have been recovered in the NFL. I guess that's the most that has been done in an NFL season this soon. Maybe there was 2 for a whole year, one other time period.
Right.
But right now, 2 onside kicks have been recovered by other teams. It can be done. But I don't know if we're practicing this at all. Is this something we shun because you don't use it enough? But I feel this is one of the most important kicks of the game. Just like a 50-yard field goal to win it with no seconds on the clock. Because if you need this play, this is because you're losing and you need to get the ball. So I think you need to practice this more.
Exactly. Well, Big O, this, like you said earlier, this was a physical game. The Steelers always going down to Oakland, and it's always physical. And what are some of the injuries that came out of that? That's a big thing, and that was some of the big losses. And I know you guys want to know what went down, because there were a lot of Steelers that were leaving the field. So
well, we always lose the offensive line. Okay, it's not the O-line anymore. It's got-to-go line. They got to go to the doctor. They got to go somewhere because they're hurt. It should be the injured line.
Right.
Now, Ramon Foster left the game with a concussion, so we could pretty much scratch him off for next week. David DeCastro, ankle injury. He is doubtful, highly probable that he will miss the game next week. This is going to be determined on MRI. He needs to take one. And Whimper, knee. He's the same situation. Don't know his outcome. Doubtful. Highly probable that he won't play either, depending on the outcome of his MRI. And hopefully we'll know more by tomorrow. Hopefully by Friday we'll have a definite answer. But right now, I would not consider them playing next Sunday in New England.
Wow. Like I said, and that's the offensive line. And that's the thing that hurts the most for the Steelers. Because, right there, then and there, if the replacement guys don't play an all-out game in New England, it's going to be a rough one, and this goes back to that run game, which is going to hurt the whole Le'Veon Bell situation with trying to get his numbers up. And like we always said, the run game opens up a lot of other things.
It absolutely does. So the trade deadline is looming. So don't be surprised if you see some outlandish deal with another team to get somebody for the offensive line. We got to do what we got to do. If we got to give up draft picks, or do we just try and use Band-Aids until next season and pick up somebody in the draft? I don't know. Can we afford to lose any more players to pick up somebody like we did to have Levy Brown to spend a draft pick and some money to get this guy so he can get hurt and not even play a snap? It's a roll of the dice, folks. And do we want to take that chance or just call up guys from the practice squad and just try and wait it out till next year? Maybe we might have that diamond in the rough on the practice squad. We don't know. I think we should go that route and try and find somebody within. Right. Because we just don't draft players to sit in the practice squad. We don't draft players to cut them. We draft them to see if they can gel or fix them with the way the Steelers operate, and then just hang out there, guys, until we need you.
Hey,
I
guys,
think we need to go within.
we're going to go to a commercial break. When we come back from the commercial, we're going to talk about our gone but not forgotten. Where we're going to give you the stats on what's going on with those guys out there, those ex-Steelers, and then we're going to pregame the New England Patriot game. Next up on Steeler Nation Live.
Heckle and Jekyll Sports Cards, Collectibles, and Video Games. Open 7 days a week here in Rochester, New York. Mike has all kinds of individual cards and packs. Baseball, football, basketball, hockey, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, just to name a few. Mike also has the widest variety of video games too, from Sega Genesis to Wii to PlayStation to Nintendo, Game Boy Color Advance, and so on. Mike has all the old school games you can't rent or buy anymore. Mike also has a great selection of autographed memorabilia, sports jerseys, hats, 8x10s signed by your professional athletes for you to buy. He also has video game, Yu-Gi-Oh, and poker tournaments, Beanie Babies, Bratz dolls, sports figures, and more. Mike runs the show 7 days a week. Call Mike, 585-889-9130. That's 585-889-9130. Folks, if you're not in Rochester and you're looking for that hard-to-buy memorabilia, call Mike or look him up on the web at heckjack@rochester.rr.com. Once again, folks, that's heckjack@rochester.rr.com. But if you are in Rochester, you can go down to Chile Avenue, that's 3240 in the Chile Paul Village.
SteelerNationLive.net. It's live. Join Big O, Big T every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. New York's only in-depth analysis of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Black and gold. Game review. Injury report. Releases. Who got fired? Fantasy stats. Fantasy football. Rumor. Anything and everything you want to know about the black and gold. SteelerNationLive.net.
Uniform Express, located on 1408 Buffalo Road, Rochester, New York, for your police, fire, or EMS supplies. One of Rochester's top and finest suppliers of shirts, pants, shoes, boots, and accessories for your professional uniform needs. Uniform Express also does embroidery and screen print for team uniforms, jerseys, and corporations. Hours are Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. You can also go to their website at www.uniformexpress.com or call Brian at 585-529-4245. That's 585-529-4245. And let Brian know you heard his ad on our show, Steeler Nation Live. Hello, Steeler Nation. This is Big O from Steeler Nation Live with your future weather forecast for this upcoming game, Sunday, November 3rd at Gillette Stadium, New England, home of the Patriots. Well, folks, it looks like it's not going to be that bad, but it's going to be cold. The high is only going to be 47 that day with a low 31. Now, since it's a 4:30 game, you can tell the sun will be setting and the cold will be coming on, so dress appropriately. I am. Look at this. Gloves and a jacket. I'm ready for the game. So this is your Pittsburgh Steeler future weather forecast from Steeler Nation Live. I'm Big O.
Steeler Nation Live, Big Tiz, Big O. You know what? We had a phenomenal situation going on in Cincinnati with Harrison. Out of the three that's been gone from Pittsburgh, gone but not forgotten segment, Harrison is the only one who actually had a good day on Sunday. Harrison had 2 tackles and 1 sack. Other than that, the rest of the ex-Steelers basically didn't do anything.
Mendenhall, Story, What is it, Big Tiz?
Goose eggs.
Goose eggs.
I'm not even sure if he even played in the game. So that's how much I think he's getting to the point where he's going to be eventually phased out in Arizona.
Mike Wallace.
3 catches, 41 yards.
Wow.
Now, this is the guy who wanted Larry Fitzgerald type money. And Larry Fitzgerald had a phenomenal day in Arizona.
And I think Miami gave him that money.
Exactly. So, Miami, you're stuck with a guy who, yeah, he can get open sometimes on the long ball, but what about the intermediate stuff? You got to think about that.
Plus, number one, if you don't have somebody to throw him the rock, chances are you ain't going to catch it. Number two, if Tannehill does have time to throw him the rock, 9 out of 10 times, I don't think he's catching it.
Right, and that's what's been happening with him lately. The hands are, they haven't really been that good in Pittsburgh, and now they're really being shown out in Miami. And you guys, right now, I'm going to go right on record and say, I'm sorry.
I'm not. No, but, Wallace is the kind of receiver that if you throw up these crazy passes, that he can come down with them. But you throw it right to him, he's lost. He's lost.
Exactly.
He's lost. Now, speaking of being lost, we're not going to be lost next week because November 3rd, Sunday, Gillette Stadium in New England, they'll be hosting us, Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yep, should be a big game. The Steelers, like I said, we've been saying for weeks on end, they got to win it. They got to win every game they play. Basically, it's like a long, long playoff run.
Well, let's not say we're not going to play a Super Bowl caliber team now because the way New England has been playing, granted, their record does not match their play. They're coming off a nice comeback win against the Dolphins and Mike Wallace's 41 yards, 27-17. Now, just kind of like reverse this, Miami had the lead 17-3 in the first half, and New England turned it around. It's a 60-minute ball game, folks, and that's what the Patriots did. They came back. I do believe that Tom Brady did not have a great game. I think Tom Brady threw for 118 yards. I think that's where I was getting my numbers earlier from Terrell Pryor to, I think, Tom Brady. And he wasn't at 116 yards. 1 TD, 1 interception. This is not Brady-esque. This is not the year that Brady is going to, be Tom Brady. He's just a normal, average quarterback right now. And not only is the passing game, because you can't really blame Brady so much,
right,
because he has rookie receivers, and let's not forget Gronkowski was out for the first 6 games. So trying to get him slowly into the mix. So it's not like we're playing a Super Bowl team, but we're not playing no slouch team.
Exactly. Well, and the Steelers have to look at it too. The running game for the Patriots is mediocre at best, and they're kind of like the Steelers in a way because they're kind of switching backs here and there. We finally have like a steady back kind of, but we still have these other guys that come in and fill in the void, and the New England Patriots are basically doing the same type of thing. So we're almost like somewhat of a mirror image of each other in certain aspects, but the main thing that the Steelers have to keep in the equation is that Ben is used to taking those hits.
Right.
And the New England Patriots have a quarterback that's not used to taking these hits.
Right, and he's been taking a couple. And Tom Brady has his receiving core is like Edelman. You got Dobson. You got Thompson. You have Danny Amendola, who's typically on the injured reserve list. So now he's coming back. He's probably questionable for the Steeler game because of his injuries. Not the stellar lineup that Tom Brady usually has. But still, these guys get open, and we don't want them to play the game against them where they do get open. They do decide to learn how to catch the ball.
Right.
Dropping balls, missing patterns in routes. That does not help a Tom Brady, and it's showing by his records. 116 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 1 interception for Tom Brady is not the caliber quarterback that he is played in the past. And I don't want to see a breakout game against the Steelers.
Right. Well, and that's one of the main things. Well, the Steelers and the Pats have played. The Steelers lead the overall meeting between these two, 14-11 in that series, but the Pats have won the last 5 out of the last 7 times they have played together. So the Steelers, it's time to turn the tables. And one of the main things what we just touched base on is the fact that he does have mediocre receivers out there in New England, but the fact is Brady is he's a master guy at dink and dunk.
Brady is Brady.
Right.
and with a healthy Gronk, we can't divulge our attention on Gronkowski, because these rookie receivers are good, because they would not be playing for Bill Belichick if they were not good. It's just that they're having a rough season just like we are.
Right.
But these guys are going to come out, have a breakout game this year, and I really don't hope it's against us. Now, getting back to the Brewski days of the Patriots defense, where they were tough, they're starting to shore up the defensive line and the linebackers with these no-name players. Sacked Tannehill 6 times. Not to say that offensive line for the Miami Dolphins is is great, but to get to the quarterback 6 times and sack him one game, we all know how that feels.
Right.
And I'm pretty sure Roethlisberger can atone to that. But their defense is no slouch.
Right.
No slouch.
Oh, and they've always had a steady defense. Even on years when everybody considered them having a bad defense, they played studying games. And same thing with Pittsburgh. Like I said, we're exact mirror images of each other, actually. And the Steelers have to show that they got to make a statement game, and this should be one of them. I mean, go out there, like I said, set the tone with a touchdown to start the game off. If they do that, I believe the defense can come out and shut down the New England Patriots. But the defense has to play well, and they have to play well. But like I said, Brady has to be knocked around. The Giants left a blueprint for everybody in the NFL to see that if you can attack Brady and get Brady off his heel or throwing in awkward positions, Brady's an average quarterback.
Right. Now this is, we're slowly gelling into Big Tiz's keys to victory. Big Tiz, I know you touched base on a couple issues of what do you think the major issues will be your keys to victory against the Patriots this Sunday?
Well, some of the major issues that the Steelers have to get under control is they have to control the running game, the three-headed monster. Because like I said, that if you let the running game go wild, that's going to open up everything else in there. So if the Steelers can control the run game and get these guys to these 3- and 4-yard pickups, the Steelers can do whatever they want. Because then that defense starts to gel up. But the most thing that has to wake up is the front going up on the defensive line. They have to get avid pressure on Tom Brady. Because Tom Brady cannot sit back there like a statue, because he will have all day. And this guy, everybody knows in the NFL, historically, he is deadly with time.
Right. My keys to victories will be, I don't want to overshadow and repeat what you have to say, Big Tiz, but my number one key to victory is special teams. We have to get back, even when we're losing games, the special teams are right on the money. And we're losing focus on that because we're starting to gel with the offense. We're starting to get more defensive schemes. And we're starting to lose sight on the special teams. My number one is special teams. If you got to kick a field goal, we have to make these field goals. Suisham has proven himself earlier in the season. One bad game, that's it. Get it out of your belt, out of your way right now.
Right.
We still have plenty more football left to play. Now, we have to shut down the run game. Because what Brady will do, if he can establish the run, that play action is going to kill us.
Yes.
Even though we alluded earlier that they have rookie receivers except for Danny Amendola and the Gronk, that will kill us. If they establish that running game, play action is going to kill us. And the short screens, Brady likes to do the short screen with Ridley. He's coming back now. He's pretty much healthy. He played last game, did a pretty good job. We have to contain him with the short screens. Gronk, you love coming over across the middle. That's where we have to, fall back into coverage and cover him. But we have to stop. We have to stop their running attack. Now, special teams stop the running attack. Then that all flows with the stopping the passing. What we have to do is not worry about our offensive line's injuries, the woes. That's not going to go away. We have the players that come in there to play their positions, play professionally, and take care of that. We have to establish the run. Right. And like you said earlier, we want to get that first touchdown. We want to get them off their game. We want them to have to change their game plan for us. And we have to score, whether it's a field goal or touchdown in the red zone. We have to put points on the board. We can't turn the ball over. If we don't do that and create turnovers, that's going to be the key to victory. We have to create turnovers on defense and not give them the ball.
Big O, give me a final score for this game.
I see a resurgence of our offense. I see this Wildcats will be in play for Steelers. And like we said last show, we're looking for a name for this Wildcat. I don't like the Wildcat name because it seems like we're just copycatting.
Right.
So we're looking for the folks at home to come up with a name. We'll have a contest, and we pick what you call, and we're definitely give out some prizes to the best name. Could be silly, could be funny, whatever you feel. It's going to be fit the mold of this new offense. We want to hear from you. Send us an email or Facebook us and let us know. So, with that note, Big Tiz?
I'm looking for a game to be maybe about, I'll say 21-24, hopefully with the Steelers coming out on top. And I think the Steelers have the playmakers to do it, and I think they can do it, but they have to get that defense focused, and they got to shut down Brady. So, you know what, guys? There you have it this week. But what are you thinking?
I'm thinking 27-24, and I think Suisham, he makes amends for last game, and he's going to hit another game-winning field goal.
Guys,
27-24. Let me write this down.
There you have it on this edition of Still Nation Live, the Halloween edition. We hope you guys will have a great Halloween. We here at Still Nation Live. Will, Big O, you ready for this Halloween?
I'm ready, Big Tiz. I'm ready. You ready?
I'm ready. Okay, so, guys, we'll see you next week on Still Nation Live. Hopefully with a win out there. From Big Tiz, Big O.
Be safe. Trick-or-treaters, have a great Halloween, and we'll see you next week. Same time, same channel, SteelerNationLive.net.
Come check us out.
Woo. Had to throw that in there.
Yeah, Big Tiz, Big O, it's Big Tiz, Big O, Still a Nation, Big Tiz, Big O, Big Tiz, Big O, it's Still a Nation, man. Yeah, Mr. Stump, Big O. Yeah, I had to say it was a stump, man. You know, cause you know, it is a stump, man. Yeah, Big Tiz, Big O, Big Tiz, Big O. Yeah. The name of the future. And we're the name of the future. We're the name of the future. And we're the name of the future. Hey. Yeah. Shout out to Big Tiz, man. And Big O. It's Still a Nation, man. Yeah. Big Tiz. Big O. You know what it is, man. Still a Nation, man. Big O. Yeah. Big O. Every night on Monday night, man. 7 to 8 on Monday night. Big O. Big Tiz. And it's a stump. And this is Still a Nation. Big Tiz. Big O. It's Big Tiz. Big O.